goals and objectives don't have to be a big giant thing. They can be as simple as answering a few questions.
You want to know not only who you're talking to, but where they're going to find this video. If you make great content, it does no good if no one ever sees it.
Make sure your intent is good. Make sure you're leading people through your video for the right reason. That, like, if you're going to make a how-to video, be really genuinely interested in helping them. Hey everybody, Matt Pierce, Learning and Video Ambassador for TechSmith Corporation. I'm here with Andy, Owen, and Justin Simon, and we're going to be talking about objectives and creating objectives and outcomes for your videos. But before we get going, I've been working at TechSmith a long time, been making video, but I'm not an expert in all things video. I do a lot of instructional design and other stuff, just so you can understand what I'm saying instead of mumbling. We'll do introductions real quick here, and then we'll get into that topic a little bit more. So Andy, let's have you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure thing. I'm Andy Owen, video production specialist team lead here at TechSmith. Been here about 3.5 years, but I've been working in the video field for almost 20 years. So this is a fun conversation to have.
And Justin.
Yep. So I am a video newbie who's looking to just get better and learn out of these conversations and kind of bounce ideas off each other. So I'm excited on this topic.
All right, so I said at the outset, we're going to talk about objectives and for videos and outcomes, but I think the real question for me here as we get started is like, what do we really want to talk about here? Because I think there's levels of objectives, like what is the end user going to learn? There's like, what do I want the video to accomplish? Like if I'm publishing it to YouTube, there's some kind of different levels here. And I guess I'm curious what your guys' take on is when we set out the topic, what do you want to actually talk about?
Yeah, from my perspective, I think it's more around the idea of tying into the goal of the video in general. So like, why am I making this video? It's very basic at a high level, but unless you sort of set out and actually make that a thing, you tend to either ramble or you tend to get off topic, or you tend to cover like 18 topics in one video instead of like one defined topic. So what I'm kind of interested in chewing on is like, how do you come about those things? How do you know how many topics to cover, et cetera? So that's where I'm at.
So isn't it interesting? We're starting the topic of objectives on defining what our objective is. See what we did there?
So meta.
Super meta.
Andy, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, too, it's funny because we talked last time a little bit about the fact that some people work really well from a script. This might have been 2 times ago. Some people work really well from a script and planning, and some people work well just going off the cuff. But I think this is where it gets really helpful to have an outline, right? So if we talk about our goals and objectives, in this video, I want to teach you how to record your Zoom meeting, for example. And I'm going to first introduce you to, hey, have you ever had a Zoom meeting? We've all had them right now. You know, we talk about what it is and very quickly get into the topic. And so the outline can be, you know, summarize the point, explain how to set it up, what software you'll need. So yeah, I think for the individual video, you should be able to set up a set of goals. You should also be able to set up a set of goals for like, who's your audience and how are you going to get it in front of them afterwards? So I think I think it can be all of those things, because I can't tell you how many videos I've done for companies or even for myself when I'm very excited about the video. It's great content, but I didn't have an end game in mind of like where this was going to live and who the audience was and how I was going to get it in front of their eyes. And so it just kind of went out into the ether and didn't really get any views. So it's important to kind of have that end game.
I'll say I like that. And it's something that, you know, I've heard Jay Baer say before as well, where it's, you know, this random acts of video. Like it's okay. Right. It's like you get to this point where you're, I'm making videos, but then it's all so random. There's no plan, there's no process, there's no reasons behind why you're trying to make that particular video or even set of videos. And so, yeah, I love the idea of sort of planning the goals of the video, like from a production standpoint, but then also like absolutely cannot forget goals in terms of like distribution goals. Like for my side and the content side, like that is almost as important, because otherwise you're going to waste a lot of time on videos that nobody sees. And so for us, I think I love that point, Andy.
Well, and I think this is where, when we were pre-talking, right, this is where one of the things I was thinking about is in terms of like, the objectives, and for a lot of the people that are like me that are in learning and development, we're thinking about learning objectives, right? That's what we want the viewer to be able to do. I want to be able to, I want them to be able to, to fix the faucet sink, or I want them to upload a video to YouTube. But then there's the outcome where it's like, well, not only do I want that to happen, that objective to happen for that person, but I want it to, reach X, Y, and Z people. I want it to, get 13 likes. Whatever the kind of the outcome you want for yourself to be is, I think, defining those and having them both are, for me at least, are really important, but not always easy to do. Not always easy to figure out like what exactly should be in this video. What do I want it to achieve?
Well, and I feel like if you're on a platform like YouTube, for example, your audience is going to very quickly tell you if you haven't met that goal. So it can be detrimental to you to set a title for your video before you've actually set any goals for your video. So if back to your example of like, I want to repair a faucet in a bathroom, and I make this video and I talk to the camera the entire time about, I replaced this bathroom faucet one time and it was really helpful and I'm so glad we did it. Hey guys, I'll see you next time. No one learned anything. No one got anything from your video other than a story. And they will tell you, especially in YouTube, in the comments that you did not meet their objectives. So best thing you can do is just go in with that plan of like, I want to show you A, B, and C so that you can do A, B, and C yourself next time. And the other thing is, this may be off topic already, but I was going to say, I feel like we get into this point where we feel like, okay, we've already made that video. We can't talk about that again. But if it's your if it's your audience's goal to be able to fix a sink, talk about it over and over and over, because you're going to remember something in the next video that you forgot to touch on in the first one. And it just helps to repeat these processes for people who are trying to learn.
Well, Andy, you said something that got something thinking in my head is TechSmith has done a variety of different studies. One of them is the video viewer study, which people can go out to the website and find. But and in that study, if you're looking through the data, and the data doesn't say this necessarily like super specifically, but when I went and looked at it and interpreted the data, there's three things I think that become really important here that have to align with your objective is your title, your description, and your thumbnail. Because what you said, like if I'm just telling you the story about the time I changed my sink faucet, and I'm thinking I'm gonna get this how-to of changing my sink faucet, all of a sudden that relevance isn't there, and I'm not going to watch. I'm not going to, I'm going to move on to something else so that I can be successful. Because as a viewer, that's what I want. I want my success. I don't really care about your story. Right. It might be interesting. It might be entertaining. But if you're not getting to my needs, your objective was not met. Your outcome will not be met.
Yeah. Justin shared a book with me, actually. I don't have it in front of me, or I'd hold it up right now, but it's the How to Write Better book. And I think it's the second chapter where he just outlines the fact that nobody cares about you. They only care about themselves. And so if I go into YouTube with the goal of repairing my bathroom sink and you sit there rambling on about your success, I don't care. Show me how to do it for me. Like, I'm not interested in your success. I'm interested in my success. And I hate to say it because we want to think that people are inherently good, and I think they still are. But there's that selfish need that, like, we have to fix this thing. So show the viewer how to do it. Yeah, we're supposed to guide them to success, not brag about it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is, like, if you think of yourself in any of the videos you're making, if you think of yourself as the guy, especially how to, right? Like, but even if you're trying to explain a concept or an idea, like if you are only just trying to guide these people to a better successful objective or goal or whatever that is, like you don't call it whatever you want, but if we're helping them be successful, you in turn become successful because you've helped them accomplish the thing, right? Like it's not that. I'm trying to think of an example from a movie, but like Yoda helping Luke Skywalker, right? Like Yoda's success is Luke Skywalker's success. That's how that goes. Like Yoda being successful doesn't help Luke Skywalker at all.
You have to remember you're not the hero here, right? Like you're not the Luke Skywalker. You are the Yoda. Hopefully.
Right. Exactly. But I think that is so easy to fall into in terms of like, I'm the one on camera, so I must be Luke Skywalker. I must be the star.
I mean, not to dive too deep into the movie analogy, but I love it so much. If anyone who has seen, Empire remembers when Yoda did actually remove the X-wing from the swamp and set it out on the land. He was disappointed because Luke wasn't able to do it for himself. Like, he, as the guide, had failed.
Right. Absolutely.
So just because
Interesting. Yeah.
not a success.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more. Let's get a little bit more focused on helping people do this, because I think inherently everyone can probably agree they're familiar with story archetypes and kind of the roles that people play. But let's talk for a second about how do you get to that point? How do you make it so your video is going to be successful? Because I think there's some things here that I feel like it's taken me a long time to realize that, like, because I am someone, I want to tell people everything that I know. Like, it's just like, I want to give you all the details. I want to make sure you know every little facet of what we're talking about, because I know it. I want you to know it. It's like, and so I think, but that often I shoot myself in the foot when I try to do that.
Yeah, I know when we do like website content or blog content, and again, it's a little different, but the thematics might be the same, is we always start with this idea of like, what does when we start to map it out to get to the larger goal set, is like, what does this person want as it relates to this video or this piece of content? So start there. What do they want, right? In Andy's example earlier, they want to record a Zoom call. That's the most basic level of it, right? And then from there, really dive into the core of those problems, and like, yes, they want to record a Zoom call, but why do they want to record the Zoom call? And then sort of you can work through that. And then you get to you sort of want to lay out the steps from there, which is the meat of your video, showing them how to do the things. And then, I think all the while hinting at success, right? Like that is another key that I would say in terms of like an overall goal, is that they can successfully record their Zoom calls after this. If they can't, then your video has absolutely failed, which is stuff we've touched on here.
And I think that, one of the other things that I would avoid too, which you didn't mention, and I think is good, is that, like, we don't want to talk about how to download and install Zoom in the video where they're asking, how do I record a Zoom call, right? Like, we know that their problem is how to record the Zoom call.
Right.
Don't get in the weeds with all the details. Obviously, they've typed in this question. They've got Zoom probably. We can make that assumption. And assumptions are dangerous, but I think at this point we're safe to assume that they have the software. They just want to do a new feature with that software. Record it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Total sense, right? Like, you're going to focus on the one thing, and taking some time to understand what it is that they will and will not understand, right? Like, because in some cases, I could see you might have to show somebody how to install something or do something, but in that particular instance, it doesn't, like,
right.
It sounds like they're already beyond that. And I think it's really easy to get caught up on the notion of like, oh, I need to show them every single step along the way or every part of the process, when in reality, you got to be careful, but there are things you can be like, we're going to take these logical jumps forward. I don't have to show you maybe the entire time. It's like, let's say we're showing them how to install something. I don't have to show them the entire step, like, of right. Like, it's okay, now it's installing, let's watch my screen.
Watch the load screen and the installer package. And I think this is something that, like, if you want to show all that, that's fine. If you're Zoom, if you're the company and you really need to walk them through help content, that's one thing. But if we're trying to generate content for a third-party app who can do that function, then I don't need to take you through the basics. I'm just going to show you how to do this function. Yeah, you can do a whole series of videos. It doesn't have to be all encapsulated in one.
I do think there's... go ahead, Justin. Go for it.
Oh, I was going to go on a completely different tangent. So if you got something to touch on, go for it.
Then I'll just say, I think what you do need to do, Andy, is set context, right? Set the context of the fact that you should have Zoom installed already. If you don't, then you can point them to some other resource that's going to allow them to do it. Don't just assume that they're there, but you can say, like, okay, Zoom's ready, installed. You got the latest and greatest version, or whatever it might be.
That's a good point.
Now we'll jump to Justin's completely different topic.
My completely random tangent. So yeah, I think to go back in terms of goal sets and the different types and the different levels, one of the things, and we touched on a little bit, but like the idea of having a larger context to the overall goals of the video and how it ties into, whether you're making it for a business or a course or like how does this little piece also fit into the larger piece? So that way, it helps. That alone will help to get rid of the sort of random acts of video that we were talking about earlier, where if you know your big goals, it makes your little goals a lot easier and how to tie those in. So if you're building a course or a course of videos, a series of videos, it's probably good to have a set of goals and objectives for that overall series or overall course, and then get in and how do those map out to each other.
Oh, it's so boring though. I just want to make the video.
I know.
Well, it's funny too, because I know a lot of people like don't want to plan, don't want to take the time because it's not one of their skills to just like sit down, write it out, make a plan. But I think one of the things that's helped me working for TechSmith here is we use, Asana, and people can use Trello or whatever other project management board, and something to kind of keep you organized, keep your team on alignment, because it is hard. Like I could go make any video right now. I can make a video on any topic, but is it actually going to help our larger goals and objectives? And that kind of project management helps. So. But see, I can also go down this whole side tangent about project management and Trello and Kanban boards and versus list types. That has nothing to do with the content we're talking about today.
Well, I think the idea is like, even this doesn't have to, like, I feel like we're almost making it's this big process and you have to go through it. But no, I'm going to take the stance that I think you need to have thought through who is your audience, what are you going to tell them, why are you telling them that, and then what is the stuff that you can get away with not telling them. If you've done that, you're going to be way more successful than a lot of videos out there that are just like, hey, everybody, I want to talk to you about this. And I think being very intentional about those decisions that you're making to help move them to whatever the objective is so that you're getting the outcome that you perceive and want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it makes a ton of sense. And I think, every time we make a video, every time we make, at least for our team, every time we make a video, every time we write a blog post or a piece of content, I'll run through real quick. We have 5 questions that we ask about our audience, and they're very short. Some of them might feel repetitive, but this helps lay out before we outline. It's actually a piece of our outline and how we plan it. So the first question is, who is the audience? So very basic, right? Like who are these people? Why do they care about it? So why do they even care about this topic? What are they going to learn from it? And again, so that helps narrow in that focus of like, they're not going to learn how to download Zoom. They're going to learn how to record Zoom. And so that's that. How does it benefit them? And again, a lot of these things help tie into things like the intro of your video and understanding what success looks like. And then where are they going to apply this information? So are they going to apply it in their job? Are they going to apply it in their workplace at home for fun? And that helps sort of tie in everything from voice and tone. And you could add in all of those type of things into this sort of planning doc as well too. But just 5 basic questions, run those down every time. We spend like 5 to 10 minutes just kind of getting those out there before our outlines take shape. So hopefully it'll help with the video side too.
That's super helpful to remember. And I would even say one thing to add on to that too, when you're making the video, is in the first 5 or 6 seconds, your viewer should know what they're going to learn in that video, right? Like it shouldn't be, hey guys, it's Andy. I'm so excited you returned today. Oh, it's been so much fun. I have some stories I want to talk about. Oh my gosh, I clicked away already, right? Like the idea is, hey, today you're going to learn how to record a Zoom call with such and such, like,
wow,
boom,
I'm feeling personally attacked here, Andy. I mean...
Why are you feeling personally attacked?
Because that's what I do all the time. Hi, I'm Matt Pierce, a video.
I didn't say.
And today we're going to talk about X, Y, and Z. You get there. It's okay.
Yeah, I'll get there. I'll get there.
Yeah.
The other thing, and we don't have to go deep into it because I'm sure we'll have a discussion about this at some other point. But like, having goals that are metric based as well, which we didn't really talk about any of those, but like whether it's video views, whether it's watch time, whether it like
Hold on for those technical difficulties. Let's pause for a second. Are you back, Justin?
I'm back. I think I'm back.
Okay.
Yes?
Let's have you go back and start saying that again. The magic of video. Or not.
Magic
We
of
may.
video. So
This is probably going to be just. We're just going to keep it this way, and this is what
that's
happens.
all right. We'll roll through it.
Yep.
I think it's just trying to understand like how to measure success and having those sort of goals and objectives set as well. So ties back into the stuff we talked about earlier in terms of having a plan for distribution. It's the same thing. So do you expect 100 views out of this video? How do you sort of know what success looks like? That's sort of like a SMART goal framework if you were to kind of work through that. But like understanding the goals from that perspective of like what makes this video successful in the end. Did people watch all the way to the end? Do they drop off at the beginning? All that stuff.
And there's different measurements for that even, right? And pull me back if I go into the weeds here, but the idea for me is not necessarily just to get people to click on the video, it's to get them to watch most of the video, right? I think I think I've heard like you want 40% of your audience to watch the majority of your video at least, and that's success. I mean, you can kind of analyze your metrics however you want, but we were doing some A/B testing recently, and we had a higher click-through rate with one of the tests, but we had a longer watch time with the other. And it's like, I'd rather have that longer watch time. That means I got a higher quality of viewers, that people actually cared about the content.
Yeah, so I think that's interesting because I struggle with like sometimes with view numbers and like we hear they're called vanity metrics sometimes, but it's like it's hard to know like. Some topics are going to do better than others, and you kind of need to figure that out. But I like the idea of view time because if the objective is to get people to do something or to be successful at something, and that's why I'm putting this content out, right? Like then if they don't get to the end, can they still be successful? And so like I think yes, for most videos I want people to watch everything. However, one thing I've noticed with like tutorial videos that TechSmith creates is that sometimes people drop off and don't watch the entire video. But does that make it not successful? Well, no, because maybe they don't need every step along the way. Maybe they just can't remember that one thing, that one piece. And so I think I think people have to be really careful about these goals and like, because it's easy to get disappointed, right? Oh, I only got 100 views when I wanted 1,000, or they only 40%, only 35% of people watch. So I think what's really much more important is taking a second, and you can't do this with every video probably, but stepping back and saying, is there someone I can talk to that did watch this? Can I go see, was my audience successful? Are the comments indicating that we're
That's
successful?
what I was going to say. Yeah.
It's not metric based necessarily, but I think we need to be careful that we're not getting disappointed when we have like, I don't know, our viewership, like I tend to talk to audiences at training conferences that, we're not talking to millions of people. I'm talking to hundreds or thousands of people, and you're, balancing out your expectations accordingly. So you're not disappointed. And it takes time to build an audience, or, if you've got a product that maybe is brand new, like we have this happen to us all the time, right? Like a product that's new is not going to get the same amount of views as Snagit. It's just, there's not the awareness. And so I think we have to be really careful and measured about the metrics that we set, but being pushing on them, making sure we're doing things to improving and testing. I love that you said that, Andy, that you're testing things, because if you don't test, you'll never know.
Right, absolutely. It's a good way to find out. This is slightly a different topic, but I was going to say I'm very proud of myself. Just this morning, I finished a book by one of my favorite authors, Patrick Lencioni, and I've read a bunch of his books. This might be the first one I read all the way through. Like, I learn a ton from his books, but sometimes, like once I'm out of, he writes, leadership fables, and once I'm out of the fable part, sometimes I'll read into the actions, but I usually drop off at a certain point. I still got a ton from his books. Just because I didn't finish all the way doesn't mean anything, but this one was a little shorter, so I had no problem. I was very proud of myself.
Well, gentlemen, I think we've talked about a lot of things, and I'm sure there's always more we can talk about. If people have questions or comments, they can always leave their comments and let us know what more we should be talking about. But let's wrap things up for today. Let's do our final take. We'll do it in this order. We'll go to Justin, then Andy, and then I'll wrap us up to end out the episode. So, Justin, final take.
My final take is that goals and objectives don't have to be a big giant thing. They can be as simple as answering a few questions before you head out to your video and just understanding your audience and your audience's problems a little bit more.
Perfect. Andy.
Yeah, you want to know not only who you're talking to, but where they're going to find this video. If you make great content, it does no good if no one ever sees it. So for me, a big part of it is going to be distribution still too.
Awesome. And just to wrap things up, I'm going to say that first of all, have an objective, have a purpose for your video. But I think also as you're looking across this, make sure your intent is good. And we didn't talk about intent, but like make sure you're leading people through your video for the right reason. That like if you're going to make a how-to video, be really genuinely interested in helping them. If you're going to make a marketing video, make sure you're doing it with the right intent. And as you do that, I think you're going to find alignment between your objectives, what the outcomes you want. So the things that you want them to do, the things that you want your video to do. And I think it all just kind of wraps it up nicely. So that way, you know, you're doing this, if you go through the process, you're going to be fine and your videos are going to be clearer and they're going to have more relevance and a just overall better outcome for your audience. So, well, thanks everybody for listening in. If you made it this far, you know, got that full watch time or listen time, we're grateful for everybody that tunes in. If you do have questions or thoughts, let us know. We've got lots of ways you can get a hold of us. And of course, we'll be back with more episodes and more content. And we thank you guys for tuning in. Till next time.